Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Schmoedown Rundown. Introducing first, the animal, Aaron Turner, and his co-host, the king of the ding, Paul Wolfe, and finally, Frankie Stats Janish.
What's going on, Movie Trivia Schmoedown fans? It is another episode of the Schmoedown Rundown. My name is Aaron. I am your host as always. Joining me today, he's the stat man. He's got a cold just like me. Frank Janish, what's up, dude?
That's right. I'm battling a cold. I can't even talk properly, so it's going to be good. Yeah,
you're just all screwed up. I'm also here, Paul Wolfe. What's going on, man?
Hey, guys, it's your turn for the cold. I had it a few weeks ago. It's your turn. It's spreading, so I wish you guys well.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Also, a special guest panelist this week. You know him. You love him. JTE. Welcome to the show, sir.
What's up, guys? I'm healthy. I think it's just my winning and allow myself to get sick.
Oh, okay.
That makes sense, yeah.
Starting off on the right foot. I like it. As we like to lead off every week on this show, we're going to do the news rundown. First thing off the top, coming off the big championship match between John Roca and Dan Murrell, we got a special greeting for the Outlaw from one Booker T, the former 5-time WCW champion and WWE Hall of Famer. Booker T showing some love. That was awesome to see.
What's up, this Booker T, the 5-time champ, and I just want to say congratulations to the Outlaw, John Roca. Hey, you won the big one. You're the new champ now. Hey, it's one thing to win the title, but it's another to defend the championship. Now, can you dig that? Schmoedown!
Also, we got some new rules this week. Now there will be a challenge added to the matches. You get one challenge per match. Also, there's a new rule, oddly enough, called the JTE rule, where you can only ask for a repeat 3 times in one match. So I might as well just start it with you, JTE. What do you think of these rule changes?
What do I think of the rule changes? I mean, I get it. I guess looking back, I may have done this a lot. I would say, can you repeat the question? Buy more time to figure out what the answer is. A lot of times I knew the answer, but you really need to listen to the question because sometimes they'll be very specific of what they're asking for. And right away, you'll just want to answer, and it might be wrong. It happened with Murray at 1600, the Wesley Snipes question I had. I think it was a tag team, and they said the lead detective. And I remember there was detectives in that movie. So when I asked for again, I just wanted to make sure I was zoning in on the right person. But I think it makes sense. I mean, you don't want people using it every single time. I don't think I ever abused it that much. I only said it when I really felt like I need to make sure the question was very, very specific.
All right. What do you think, Frank?
Yeah, oddly enough, I don't have that stat of people re-asking the question. I might go back and do that if I have a slow day. It's fine with me. It didn't really bother me per se, but I understand why it can slow down the match sometimes here and there. The challenge, I like the challenge. Apparently, from the first team match, Roca is quite versed in the rule. He even pointed out to Matt Atchity that it could bite him later on. Was a 2-pointer or a 5-pointer? So his mind's always running. I fully expect that challenge to be used quite often.
Fair enough. Paul, what do you think, man?
Yeah, the way that they implemented, I think it's actually going to really benefit everybody. The way that they could have maybe gotten around it is maybe give everybody headphones. I know they have a lot. I don't know if they have a lot for everybody if they do team. I know that coming from the educational background, when you have to read aloud a test, you read it 2 times in a row. One time to hear it, and then one time to kind of comprehend it. Obviously, with Kristian and everybody, they don't really have that background. So with this repeat and the repeat and the challenge, I really kind of do like how they kind of implement it, almost like the NFL with 3 repeats. And almost if maybe they wanted to implement it later on, where if they do 3 repeats and it works well, maybe they can get a 4th. Or I don't know if they want to do it like that or keep it the way it is for now. It worked well in the first match. I don't believe they even used it in the second match. I think there was 1 repeated answer in the singles match today, but I think it was because Kristian didn't say the question right, so that didn't count against Bernard, I believe. I actually enjoy it. I think it's going to add a little bit more, cohesiveness and more clarity to the matches.
Yeah, I agree. It's just going to make for a lot cleaner match. That way we don't have these Eva problems or anything like that, that all just goes out the window. So the new implementation of these rules will help everybody out. I think it's just a way to make the game a lot clearer. I got no problems with it whatsoever. But let's move past the rules. Let's get into our first recap of the week. It was the team match. It was Rotten Tomatoes coming back versus a debuting team of What the Flick. And guys, it did not go the way of What the Flick. Let's get to the scoring breakdown. Round 1, it was Rotten Tomatoes and What the Flick both scoring 7 points. In round 2, What the Flick had the unfortunate spin of opponent's choice, which ended up being movie release dates for them. They go 1 of 6 for only 2 points. Rotten Tomatoes fared a little bit better in round 2, getting Action Adventure going 4 of 6 for 6 points, plus 5 additional points off of 3 steals for a total of 11 points in the round. Came down to round 3 where What the Flick had to get a question. They missed it, and Rotten Tomatoes TKOs What the Flick in their debut 18-9. JT, what did you think of this match? And what do you think of What the Flick as a team?
I think What the Flick is pretty strong. I think they're going to have certain categories they're going to be better at than others. I think that's with most people. The thing is, they are film critics, so they see a lot. Again, when it comes to certain players, everyone has their own strength. I'm not quite familiar with them as well to know, like, when I see Finstock, I'm like, all right, if you get sports, he's going to be good. If me or McCoy get action adventure, I know we're going to kill that. There's not really one category where I'm like, all right, that's the one I need to watch out for them to get, because they're fairly new. I thought they missed some easy questions. I think even Rotten Tomatoes missed a couple questions I would have gotten. So, but that's times where anytime I get in them, so it's hard to judge somebody when everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. And I will say Matt killed it in the match.
Frank, what did you think of this match?
I was disappointed in Rotten Tomatoes. I really didn't have any idea what to expect from What the Flick. I knew they were movie critics, so I thought, judging based on previous movie critics who've played in the Schmoedown, I thought they would do a lot better. I'm not particularly fond of the way they played the game. I think JT's right, they know a lot, but they didn't particularly play the game. I think utilizing multiple choice as much as they should have. I also think that Rotten Tomatoes, Gray Drake just did not show up. She did carry them quite well in that 2015 tournament. She was actually the better of the two throughout that whole tournament. And then since last season, when they played in their one match against top 10, in this match, she is now a total of 2 for 12 through those 2 matches when she was a previous 14 of 17. So I'm not sure why she's exactly as bad as she has been in these past 2 matches. Some of the categories and questions can't get to, but that's a pretty big drop off. And Atchity has picked up his play. He's now 9 of 12 in the past 2 matches. He is really now kind of carrying the team. And he was very impressive in that first round, one of the best first rounds from an individual we've seen yet. Overall, though, I'm a little skeptical now on Rotten Tomatoes. I was pretty high on them. The ability is there. It remains to be seen with What the Flick, because they did get movie release dates. It's not a great barometer to judge somebody on.
It's more like a death sentence these days. Paul, what did you think of it?
I wanted to kind of look at this as almost like another sports analogy, being the fact that I think we didn't get the best out of Rotten Tomatoes because they were playing their friends. So their guard was down, and they weren't truly taking it as seriously as they normally would have if it was another team. Gray, again, definitely, she even admitted it at the end where, she didn't do very well. I mean, the first round, she got 1 question out of 8, and then Matt got 6 out of 8. I think besides Riley, I think 6 out of 8 is one of the top in the first round. And then you saw What the Flick did actually kind of even. They were one, Alonzo had 4, Kristi had 3. So that was more balanced. So it looked like it was going to be, that a 3-person race with Gray kind of trailing behind a little bit. Looking at the categories, there wasn't one category in that first round that anyone got 100%. Animated, 25%, 1 out of 4. Action, 3 of 4. Comedy, 3 of 4. Drama, 1 of 4. Family, 2 of 4. It killed me to hear the Back to the Future 2 score no one got. Horror thriller, 1 out of 4. And directors, 3 out of 4. So you only had 75% 3 times. So it was kind of overall not very strong across the board, except seeing that Matt Atchity getting that 6 out of 8 in that first round. Now going to that second round, you could see the experience from Rotten Tomatoes and the lack of experience with What the Flick. Honestly, if you look at it, They used multiple choice one time on the third question, and I think it was because they finally heard it from the others. So, like, I think a lot of people were even whispering it to him, or kind of, I don't know. There was a lot of back and forth. You guys even probably heard how kind of annoyed everybody got with, like, just write the answer down or just say it and just listen. Their guard was down, and it wasn't as serious as you thought they'd take it. There was a lot of repeating of the rules. You should be prepared for that. You should remember what the rules are. They say it at the beginning of every round. That kind of distracted from a lot of the competition, maybe a lot of the concentration from the teams. You definitely saw the experience factor in round 2 when you even saw, I don't even know if 5 steals or at least 5 steal attempts. I don't think I've seen that many. Frank, you can probably back me
I
up.
would like to throw my hat in here and say, get rid of those.
Yeah, but of course you had
the
Finding
multiple
Nemo.
choice helps you not at all. Because
they go by like a year.
If you're like, okay,
94,
I know
95,
that came out like
97.
94, 95, you're going to get 92, 93, 94, 95. It literally helps you none whatsoever. So I think if you don't know it from the get-go, you're screwed.
I can see that. The multiple choice may need to change up a little bit. But of course, if you have a movie like the Batman Forever one that came out in 95, you can't have like A, 1962, B, 1995, C, 1970. You know, you can't.
No one's that stupid where they don't know at least a day.
That's true too.
Like
That's
every
true.
round what year. That's a Scott Mantz special. Like not everybody. Mantz is beast when it comes to that.
It is.
But that's Scott
Superhero
Mantz.
Superhero News
Like,
did pretty well.
It's a talent because he's the only one that could do it.
Yeah, Superhero News did quite well. So
overall, what my experience watching this was that What the Flick, it was, again, they're amongst friends. They're brand new to this. They weren't truly incorporated into what the rules were each time. And I think now that they know, I think their next match might be a little bit better. And it's almost like kind of like a Wolves of Steel kind of comparison, even though, Riley and Wolf had the experience, but as a team, they came out of the box kind of slow. This one, they know each other really well. Rules and the way that the Schmoedown is set up, I think that's what tripped up What the Flick. So if they come out to, let's say they throw them into an ETC matchup or a new team, maybe Superhero News, I don't know, another team out there, they might be able to have a better competition after they've got one match under their belt.
If you notice in the second match, I noticed a release date that got swapped around in multiple choice. So it wasn't 94, 95, 96. It was like 97, 94, like it kind of got bounced around. I know that doesn't help, but it's different. I hate movie release dates, part of the game, and everybody has categories they're good at and they're not good at, and I kind of go back and forth on it. I mean, JT, you say take it out, Hector Navarro might say keep it in. I don't know, you kind of take the good with the bad. I don't really have a set position on keeping it or not. We did see some Schmoedown history as Matt Atchity became the first person to challenge a question and successfully get it overturned, as he wrote down Elijah Wood but did not spell it out all the way, which is part of the rules. So since he did not know that, it was the first time Rotten Tomatoes had used the whiteboards. They overturned the point and gave it to him. I'm fine with that. Did you guys find anything wrong with that?
I'm iffy on it because if it was somebody else who had not previously played or didn't know about the rule, would they still give the same ruling? Because that was Matt's argument, that he didn't know you have to write the whole thing out. Had it been a player who had previously played in that version of the round one now, would they have still given that ruling? So that's the only part that I'm kind of curious about. But other than that, I'm okay with the ruling.
And I said the same thing before, was the fact that they mentioned it. They, meaning Kristian, mentioned it before the round began. The actual rule, what the rule is, the Freddie Prinze Jr. rule, write the whole thing, say the name, and he didn't remember, didn't hear it. I don't know if it's a communication issue with one having headphones on. Maybe Kristian doesn't know he's not talking loud enough, or maybe they need headphones for the rules to be set. I don't know what that is, but he did state it beforehand. We heard it clear because, again, headphones, microphone, Matt might not have heard it. So I don't know if that's part of the issue. We'll just, time will tell on that one.
He said Elijah Wood, though, correct? Turn it over.
He did.
But he wrote Lige Wood, and so the rule technically.
Yeah, I get that, but the fact of the matter is, and this is the way I feel as a competitor, he knows the answer. He just, didn't write the name down all the way. Maybe he misspelled it. But at the end of the day, he knows who Elijah Wood is. He knows who the actor was. It gets real tough. I said Kelly McGinnis, right?
Yes.
I knew who I meant. It was the girl from Top Gun. She was in Witness. So I was right, but because I couldn't pronounce her name right, I was wrong. That's where it gets in that gray area. I feel like if you know the answer, it is a trivia game, so you have to get the name right. But in this case, he knew Elijah would. He just shorthanded Elijah. If anything, he spelled it wrong. I would give it to him. But again, I'm not the judge.
Yeah, it's a fair assessment.
Closing thoughts on this match before we move on?
I thought both teams were fine. I'm not feeling threatened at all.
That was one thing I was gonna say is, does any of these teams threaten you at all for the title?
Not at all.
I also just want to keep I have to do this every once in a while. I kind of want to keep people in perspective here. We had 3 amazing matches last week. We had a great team title match. We had a great championship match overall. The Kalinowski and McWeeny match was good. This match, it did not live up to those standards, but then again, how could it? Because they were all great matches. You can't get down on this match because of the high of last week. So relax, everybody. Like, it's fine. We're going to have these matches every once in a while. Just let it happen. It's fine. It's to get new people into this league. The more the merrier. The more contenders that we can get for those bigger championship matches. So you just got to roll with it. Just how it is.
Especially with new teams. They're new teams. They haven't got to feel as they play, they'll get better.
Absolutely. And they'll be coming for those titles sooner rather than later.
That's not going to happen.
All right, let's jump into the singles recap now. It was Mark the Magic Man Bernardin, interesting nickname, versus Nick the Producer Seducer Scarpino, probably the best nickname I've ever heard in my life. It was a fantastic matchup of two guys that were highly anticipated to be in this league. Let's get to the scoring breakdown. In round 1, it was Mark Bernardin going 7 of 8 for 7 points. Nick Scarpino goes 5 of 8 for 5 points. In round 2, Mark Bernardin gets biopics, gets 4 of 4 for 6 points. Nick Scarpino rolls Spielberg, gets 4 of 4 for 4 points. No steal opportunities in that round. Great match overall. As we go to round 3, Mark Bernardin gets his 1. Nick Scarpino gets the 1, the 3, and missed the 5 very badly. And Mark Bernardin gets the win. JT, I'm going to start with you. You see these two guys. What did you think of this match, and what do you think of these two competitors going forward?
I thought Mark was really good. I've known Mark for a little bit because I used to work with him. So I got to work with him pretty closely for like a couple of months, and I knew this guy was going to be a heavy hitter. He knows his shit. Overall, I was pretty impressed with his performance. The other guy, not so much. From Kind of Funny, that Spielberg round, I knew every single one easily. Some of the ones he missed, it's not even the ones he missed. The ones he had to go to multiple choice for, I was like, really? You're taking multiple choice on this? Yeah, he got some lucky guesses, but overall, I was shocked that some of the times he had to go multiple choice. I don't see him being a threat. While Mark definitely do such.
He reminded me of Drew McWeeny from last week, as Drew McWeeny just kind of stared at the Kristian and the other commentators and really didn't look up or down, didn't really veer that much, just kind of looked straight forward and answered the questions. It just makes me think that he might be an android, which is totally fine. But the guy missed
one showmanship. He just comes in and does his thing.
Yeah, that's right. No flips, just fists. But anyway, the guy missed one question in his debut. One question on a bad Aaron Eckhart movie, which if you don't remember it, I don't blame you because it was horrible. But let's talk about the Steven Spielberg category. Now, JT, I know you said that you knew them all.
Oh, yeah.
Holy cow.
Every single one.
But are those not, correct me if I'm wrong, but are those not really obscure, minus the Schindler's List question, were those not obscure Steven Spielberg questions?
For me, Spielberg's such a great director that his obscure films are ones that stick out to you, rare misses that he has. So to me, those almost stick out more than his biggest hits because those are the ones that everyone's seen so much. 1941 is an epic Spielberg failure with John Belushi. Those two have only made 2 movies together, Blues Brothers and that movie. So just hearing their names alone, you should immediately go to 1941. Now, again, maybe he got the year. He couldn't remember the year, but to me, that was an easy question that he missed.
How many times have you seen War Horse?
War Horse I saw once, but the scene, he plows because at one point the kid literally does the job of the horse and is plowing for like 10 minutes in the beginning of the film. So that scene alone, I just knew it was plowing right away.
Fair enough. All right, Paul, what did you think of this match? What do you think of Bernardin? What do you think of Scarpino?
It's a really decent showing from both of them. Obviously, Bernardin missing just the Aaron Eckhart question. Looking at it overall, you can kind of almost think about this match being almost their exhibition, their dark match in, again, wrestling terminology. And by the way, good Revival reference there earlier.
Thank you.
And seeing just them coming out. I told this to you earlier, and I'm going to say it anyway. It looked like Arpino was kind of like the WWE's version of The Godfather with the Schmo train. I thought that was really kind of funny.
Kind of funny. See what you did there?
There we go. I like that. I like that he had that character. I like that he had the posse. And it's almost like, and JT, you could probably maybe weigh in on this, he almost seemed like Diet Finstock or Finstock Jr. in a way. He had that kind of, the way that he was talking, the way that he had some of the acting a little bit. He almost kind of seemed like a face Finstock, like the good guy version of Finstock in a way. I like that idea. I love the shirts that everyone came out with a shirt. And I actually would like to give a shout out to Stacey Howard for not cracking a smile at all in the background. Everybody was smiling. Emma, Brienne, Perry, everyone was breaking character in a way. And Stacey, stoic, not a smile, looked straight ahead, arms folded. I don't know how she did it, but I was busting up laughing just watching her just stay stoic and not do anything and not say anything and just be as serious as possible. So I thought that was really kind of cool. Bernardin, we've said this before with other competitors. You see that he has the knowledge. He missed one question. Now we need to work on his character. He said the Magic Man was his nickname. I don't know what they're going to do with that, with theme music, or if they're going to make him like, I don't know if they're going to do something as bad as have him do tricks or dress up as a magic magician or whatever, but try to work on the character just a little bit, because coming out a little bit, it was a little stale. He was all business, as you guys mentioned already. He was, came out, kind of put his arms out. He just kind of addressed the crowd and came down and sat down. Next time, maybe he'll, up the ante, a little bit more pomp and circumstance, if you will, on that one. I was thoroughly impressed that he took biopics after he spun biopics. I thought that was funny. The wheel kind of bit him a little bit because he didn't want biopics, but got it anyway. Got 6 points, even with the strategy Scarpino. He got them all, but he got 4 points. No steals. It wasn't the Bibiani and Draco that I was expecting, but they both definitely showed what they know. If it wasn't for that obscure final question with Lindsay Lohan, which I went, are you kidding me? That would have been a lot closer of a match, because again, I don't even remember that movie. Overall, I really enjoyed both of them. We did hear at the end, Bernardin is confirmed for the free-for-all, but not Scarpino. So I'm just wondering if we get to hear that, if it's a scheduling thing, or if he's not, is to check his schedule. I don't know what it is. I still would like to see him in the free-for-all too. So hopefully he'll join in. And that free-for-all is just collecting so much talent, and I cannot wait to see what happens with that. Overall, like I said, awesome, good showing. Just working on those characters a little bit more would be something for the next match. That's the only little criticism I had.
Well, for the free-for-all, I mean, let's keep in mind here that's like there's a handful of spots that have been taken up so far. A lot of the field has yet to be decided. Yeah, Bernardin's going to be in it. That's going to be awesome. Everybody keeps saying, and we'll just get it out there before I get to you, Frank, because I know you got a lot to say. Everybody's saying that now that Mark Bernardin's here, when is Kevin Smith coming? And while I am a big Kevin Smith fan, I love Kevin, he's great. I'm more excited that Mark Bernardin's in the league than Kevin, to be honest with you, because Mark, watching him on that podcast and watching what he knows and reading his articles, the guy could be a destroyer. He could be at that top level with your John Rokas right now, your Dan Murrells. Mark Bernardin could be right there with your Drew McWeenies and these other players that are going towards that top echelon. I'm super excited for Bernardin, and especially when he came out all business. I feel like Kevin, if he came out there, he'd be a little bit more loose, and that's fine. It's just I kind of like, I know you said put some character on Bernardin. I kind of liked the way it was. I kind of just come in, very business-like. I'm just going to set my briefcase down. I'm going to come in. I'm going to beat you, and I'm just going to leave. We can shake hands later if you want, but we don't have to. And I like that character. So, Frank, what do you think about this, man?
I really enjoyed this match. This was a good follow-up to a previous singles match, if you will, despite the team match that happened earlier this week. Bernardin impressed me a lot, and oddly enough, Scarpino actually impressed me in a few ways. I thought he played really smart. He got a category in which he wasn't that great in, or just movies about Spielberg. He didn't know that much, but he did a smart thing, go multiple choice. So I think with all the theatrics of the ladies coming out and all that, he didn't get fazed by that, and he knew what the rules were, that multiple choice was there. He went to multiple choice. He did what he had to do. and it got him into the third round. Otherwise, he's probably TKO'd. Mark Bernardin doesn't get to show us his full repertoire, even though he didn't in this match as well, because he only got one question in the third round. That's all he needed. I'm more sold on Bernardin than I am on Scarpino, but I think Scarpino, for me, I equate his performance to the Kalinowski debut match. He was good, but his opponent was not, so we didn't get a true measurement of how good he can be. This right here, even though he lost, Scarpino, I think it shows that, because he scored 73%, he was 11 to 15. That bodes well for the future, and if he gets a more friendly category for himself, I think he can do some decent damage given the right opponent. Mark Bernardin, I have more high hopes. I'm more higher on him. I mean, he rolled through that first round, so that was very impressive. One of the few players to hit 7 questions in the first round. He answered for the match 92.31%, which ties Clarke Wolfe's debut and Martin Draco's debut. So he's in pretty good company starting off. How he does the second match is the real question I think we're going to find, just like JTE defeated Bibiani in his second match, although scores and soundtracks, you could say, played a part in that. One issue I had with this match was the fourth question in round 1, the Few Good Men question. The question was, in what branch of service were the characters of Tom Cruise and Demi Moore in A Few Good Men? What branch of service? And Mark Bernardin answered JAG Corps. Now, to me, and he was worth the point, that's not a branch of the service. That's a division within a branch of service, because there's JAG Navy, JAG Army, JAG Marines down the list for each branch of the military. I know they gave him the answer for the point because they are technically in the JAG Corps, but they did ask for branch of service, and the correct answer was Navy, like Scarpino answered. So that's my only thing about, or the match rather, and I think Scarpino should have challenged that. It wasn't his answer, and I think if someone gets a right answer and you know you have the actual right answer, maybe you should challenge that. Just going, that's just my thoughts. So if he challenges that, Bernardin's got to go into question 2 and 3 possibly in the third round, and who knows what would happen there.
It's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea to challenge right there. We'll get some more clarification on what you can challenge and what you can't. It's kind of a little bit of trivia here. Feel free, any of you, to answer. Do you know what JAG stands for? Judge
Advocate General.
Ah, very good. Very, very good. Judge Advocate General. Very nice.
I love A Few Good Men. That's why I knew that, and that's one of my favorite movies.
I was actually leaning towards the USA Network show, JAG. Big fan.
Also in the Navy, I believe. So.
All right. Do you have any final thoughts on these competitors or anything else you want to say about this match?
Just overall, like I said in the beginning, I'm really impressed. He should have got, like you guys mentioned, Aaron Eckhart. That movie was so bad, I didn't even see it, but I remember him being the lead in that film because how it comes to mind is like, Thank You for Smoking, which is a great film. But like that, Frankenstein, I would have got that immediately. Listen, I know the movie's very forgettable, even if you did see it. And then our guy from Kind of Funny, I don't see him making much entertainment value alone.
Like I said, looking forward to seeing that, and I completely concur with what JTE is saying. Outside of Thank You for Smoking, I mean, Aaron Eckhart, everything else has been forgettable. So,
whoa, hold on, I got to stop you there, sir. Dark Knight?
My apologies. Yes. Besides that, being a starring role, I'm looking forward to seeing what Bernardin does. You had mentioned it already, Aaron. Weenie is a great matchup for maybe his next match. That would be so cool to see, unless they throw a Levine at him. I don't know what they're going to do just to maybe ease him in more. Maybe that's a Scarpino match, Scarpino-Levine, just to ease him in a little bit more. I know we're not throwing Levine to the Wolves. He is pretty decent, but lately not as been as strong as before. I look forward to seeing what they bring, and hopefully we'll see them, if not in April, so maybe sometime in May.
Levine versus Bernardin, I like it. That seems like a good matchup. I like that. Frank, what about you? Final thoughts?
I'm trying to pump the brakes on Bernardin. I don't want to get the Bibiani effect going again, where we were proclaiming him champ of the league. I want to see Bernardin in another match. He had a very good debut match, top 5 all time. For Scarpino, I'm curious to what he could do. If he can get some 2-pointers in the second round, I think he could have a upset match here and there. Him and Makuga potentially having this team-up thing, this business. I'm not sure what's going to lead to that. It's interesting to see how that develops down the road. But then again, you never know what can happen in the Schmoedown with categories and questions. If the timing's right, it can mean the world for anyone in any given match.
With that out of the way, let's jump into team previews this week. We've got a debuting team, and we've got a team that we haven't seen in a while. It's Team Nerdist, Dan Casey and Rachel Hine, versus Team IGN, which is Jim Vivoda, I'm sorry, I don't want to get that wrong either, and Eric Gildman. So we haven't seen Team Nerdist, by my math, since episode 214 of the Schmoes Know live show, when they took on Team Schmoes in the movie Trivia Schmoedown. And at that time, it was a different incarnation. It was Dan Casey and Jessica Chobot at that time. They ended up losing to the Schmoes. Frank, how do you see this match going? Who do you have winning?
I honestly do not know. Dan Casey's back, so he's the only one that's ever played in any type of Schmoedown. I will say, you mentioned their first match against Schmoes. That match, I believe, personally, Schmoes got very lucky. There was a multiple choice question, or there was a steal situation. I can't remember who was commenting the match or asking the questions, but they accidentally said the right answer, even though I think Nerdist had the chance to steal it. And they said that they knew it. I think it was the Space Odyssey question. I'm not sure. There was this whole thing about giving the point because they knew it, and then Schmoes was trying to be nice about it, and then Nerdist was like, no, just give us a new question. They ended up getting a new question, and they got it wrong. And to me, it kind of changed the momentum of the match because that would have made it a much more tighter match down at the end because of the betting round. I think that could have played a significant role. And so therefore, Schmoes should be pretty lucky for the run that they went on thereafter, because it may not have happened if events went differently for Nerdist. But now we have a different incarnation of Nerdist. No Jessica Chobot, just Dan Casey. I'm not sure what to think of the other team, Team IGN. I really don't know. I've been sick this whole week, so I've been slacking. I'm sorry. So I'm just looking forward to a good first round just to start off, because these first rounds for the teams have been putrid. So I just want a nice first round to start off with, and then I'll just go from there.
Putrid, I like that word. Very nice, deep vocabulary. I appreciate it. JTE, you see these two teams. What do you think of these two, and who do you have winning in this match?
It's tough because the only person I know really well is Dan Casey. And that guy has a huge library of knowledge when it comes to anything geek. I think he'd actually be great going for the Inner Geekdom title. He just really knows his stuff. The rest is, I don't know the Team IGN very well, so again, you got new fighters. These are some of my favorite matches to watch because I'm curious to see what these guys got. Are they going to be somebody I have to keep an eye on because maybe they'll make a run for the title, or are they going to be unimpressive? Like sometimes you get these players, you don't know, it's a crapshoot. You don't know if they're going to be good, or going to be bad, or if they're just going to have a bad day. So I'll take Dan Casey's team. I'll take Nerdist for now, only because he's the only player I know, and he knows his shit.
Paul, what do you think of this match, and who do you have winning?
It's interesting, when I first saw these two teams matched up, I first thought, oh, cool, two new teams. I now realize that Nerdist was on way back in the day, and I did take a look at their match, and I completely concur with Frank. What's interesting is I do frequent Nerdist's website a bunch of times throughout the week. It's a wonderful site, and so IGN as well. I mean, it's just, I'm looking at it almost the same as this past matchup. They're two kind of similar. It's one of those where I think it's going to be, kind of low scoring. They're getting used to this incarnation of the Schmoedown. I think personally, with a new team of IGN, I think Nerdist might have the edge just enough because they have had that experience. But again, you never know, with the new incarnation, they might again not be able to do as well as we all think. So I'm seeing it a low-scoring, even match coming up.
IGN are game nerds. Okay, Nerdist is all around nerds. So I'm going to take Nerdist in this. I'll just be short and sweet about it. Dan Casey is a guy that is a machine. He knows a lot of different things. If you go back to that match with the Schmoes, that dude was on fire. And if you listen to Dan Casey on a regular basis, you know that he has quite the knowledge. So I am taking Nerdist in this matchup. And oddly enough, if you do go back to Schmoes 214, which I encourage you to do, the game is actually hosted by John Roca and Matt Nost, oddly enough. And in there, John Roca and Matt Nost declare that one day they will be team champions. And they came true on that prophecy, so it was kind of nice to see that. A little throwback action to the younger days of Team Top 10. True enough statement. All right, guys, that's who we've got. We've got most of us here have Team Nerdist over Team IGN. Let's get to the singles preview this week. It is a very interesting matchup. It is Clarke Wolfe, the classy one, versus none other than our guest here, JTE. Now, before I get to you, JTE, Paul, give me your thoughts. Give me a prediction. Just pretend like JT's not here. Tell me, who do you think is going to win and why?
That's exactly what I was going to say. Normally when I have meetings and students are in it, I have to pretend the student's not there and talk to the parent. But looking at this, I think the JTE train is still going. The confidence is still there. he's on the right track. He's getting better in singles, and I see him coming in there with the confidence is normal, with that belt. That belt has been a godsend for him. Being with Snyder has definitely helped get him where he needs to be, and that support is there with the Lions Den. Just seeing what he's become is kind of cool. It's kind of cool to see. It's almost like a redemption story. With Clarke, she hasn't done singles in a while. It's been, she even had surgery between there. I'm not saying that's an excuse, but it has been a while since she has done singles. So I don't know what kind of mindset she's in or what kind of attitude she'll be in coming into the match. She is very strong. She's a great competitor, award-winning competitor here in the first, last year of the Schmoedown. Very big fan favorite. And so I see, honestly, I see JTE possibly doing it again, taking Clarke by a slim margin, maybe even going down to that last question again, maybe by 2 points, if that. So I do see it as a close match. I'm in the corner of JTE right now.
Very interesting. Frank, what do you got, man? Do you have JTE continuing this meteoric rise to prominence, or do you have the classy one?
This is a really tough match because Clarke hasn't been on the greatest of runs, and I'm just only looking at her team performance in the first round when it's all individual. Because her match against Makuga, she actually in the tournament last year, she actually answered more questions right than Makuga, just didn't happen on the point side. So coming into this match, the way she performed in that last team, it's tough, but I've been a Clarke supporter from the beginning, so I'm not about to jump off that train. I think she can certainly do it, and if she has a good second round and it's a favorable spin, if this new wheel is a friend to her, I think that could make the difference for her, and I think that will happen this match for whatever reason. I'm just hoping, I guess. But I do think it's going to come down to the last question here. But I think they're both evenly matched, but I will take Clarke slightly over JTE.
Wow. Even with the guy in the room, Frank still takes Clarke. Unbelievable. All right, JT, let's get your thoughts. What do you think about taking on Clarke? What can you do to beat Clarke Wolfe and continue your run here?
I always knew I liked Paul better, and that was confirmed just now. It's, listen, obviously I respect Clarke Wolfe because I asked her to be my teammate at one point. She definitely knows her horror, but I do feel like she's not really coming in with the best mindset game-wise. She doesn't quite have the eye of the tiger, I feel like, right now. I feel like she's going in there, she's hoping she does good. I'm going in there to win. I'm on a mission here. I don't plan on losing again for a long time. I got all my losing out of my system in 2016, so I want to go on a tear here and make 2017 my bitch, basically. But again, I like Clarke. She's one of the nicest people and I say this about a lot of people that I work with because it's true. I'm lucky enough to work with some awesome people, and Clarke's one of my favorites. But don't think I forgot about the decision. It worked out for me, though. I got the tag team titles. We're the champs. If anything, she must feel a lot of regret. She must be thinking, my God, why didn't I team up with JT? I could be champion right now. So in some ways, I feel bad for her. But she dug her own grave. She put herself in this position.
Wow. All right, so in the match, are you taking yourself to be Clarke Wolfe, or you still think Clarke could pull it off?
Who am I taking? Let me put it this way. Will I win on the last question? Will I win by TKO, or will I win by a KO? It's either going to be a TKO, or it's going to come down to that last three. And also, and this is the way I feel, anytime you play somebody that is a worthy competitor, that wheel is usually what's going to determine who's going to win this match. The wheel is it's a spin of death or life. I firmly believe I did not lose to Mark Riley. I lost to the wheel.
But did you lose to Cody Miller, just to clarify?
I lost to the script that said Cody Miller had to win.
Oh, wow. And the conspiracy theories begin. All right, well, I haven't given my prediction, so I'll just go ahead and jump on it. The Jungles rule the kingdom, and so does JTE's rise back up the ladder of prominence, and I tend to take the players with the hot hand. It's just what I do. I took Makuga to beat Finstock because Josh had the hot hand. I thought Bibiani had the hot hand against JTE. I was definitely wrong about that. Roca had the hot hand going in against Dan Murrell, so I tend to take the people with the hot hand. However, I think Clarke is being underrated in this matchup. We know how good Clarke is. She has a hit or miss on the wheel every single time. She hates the wheel. I think it's going to be your friend. It was her friend in the team match. They got her and Riley got horror as their spin. I think it's starting to turn in her favor. And above anything else, did anybody else see that picture that Kristian put up of Clarke holding the movie Trivia Schmoedown championship? It looked good on her. So that alone, I will take the classy one to beat JTE. No offense.
That's like you run into a Super Bowl champion, you get to take a picture with the ring. You take that picture because you know you're never actually going to get one.
Oh, right. JT, would you like to answer some fan questions now?
Sure.
Well, I use the term fan very loosely. I'm sorry. I have a question from Evan Hans, who asked, if you had to change your intro music, to what kind of music would you like to walk out to?
If I could change it, like if I was doing the singles, something off the Over the Top soundtrack. There's a couple tracks on there I could probably use. Probably In This Country by Kenny Loggins.
I got another question here. This one's from Ryan Thompson. What category would you like to see added to the wheel?
Interesting question. I'm not going to stay, obviously, a Stallone category, although there's a Tom Cruise category. There's been, like, Brad Pitt category, I think, one time. Why not a Sylvester Stallone one? But if I was going something a little more broad, like, give me a martial arts movie category. I grew up loving martial art films, and I think it's its own genre. And I think, weed out some of the people who are just, fans of American films and get a little more foreign films in there. Even foreign films. Put foreign films in there, man. I love me a good foreign film.
That's not a bad idea. Foreign films, that's actually pretty good. I like that. That's a good idea. This question comes from a friend of the show, Robert Butler III. He asks, where do you, JTE, think the league would be without you?
What a great question, RB3. That's a fantastic question. I'm going to give him a hug next time I see him. It's tough, Kristian's so good at putting this league together. But again, I think when I first made my first run, beating Mark Ellis, and just having some come behind rounds in my entrances, I really did play up America because I love America, and I think it set a standard for not just entrances but personas. And my persona was genuine. I wasn't putting on a show. I came in with that American flag because I wanted to come in with that American flag. So I think, would it be where it is now? Probably. Kristian, and just too many talented people involved. But me being a part of it definitely gives a little bit of that spice that it needed.
This one comes from Delisha Renee, who asks, besides winning the tag belts, what is your favorite match that you have competed in so far?
Oh, the Bibiani one was pretty awesome. It would be the tag team belts, though, because I'm here to win championships. And I'm not here. It's good to get a win, especially when you're an underdog. But to be able to actually beat somebody and take their belts away, it's like Highlander, man. There could only be one. And I love having that belt. So it had to be tag teams. Outside of tag teams, I would probably go one of the earlier matches, the one where I beat Ellis because he didn't put enough points down. Again, that's more his loss than me winning it. I'll admit to that. But at the same time, I thought I knew he was probably gonna know the answer, so that was the most shocked I ever been winning because he didn't bet enough points. And I'm usually ride or die when it comes to point betting. I usually just go all in because screw it, why not?
Fair enough. Oddly enough, the next question comes from friend of the show, William Bibiani, who asks, how does it feel to get lucky, JTE?
How does it feel to get lucky? Is that really what he asked? I mean, I'm going to ask him to, elaborate on that a little bit. Lucky that he was even in the Schmoedown? Yeah, I think I understood that. Listen, listen, I wasn't lucky. I beat you by TKO. If it's luck, then it would have been like it would have went down to at least to the wire. It would have gone at least down to the last question. But no, I beat him by technical knockout because he didn't know. Listen, Sergio Leone is a master filmmaker. Any cinephile knows that two of his most famous films are the good, the bad, and the ugly. Anything Clint Eastwood. But his most famous Western, and in my opinion, maybe his best, is Once Upon a Time in the West. Now, when he makes a film called Once Upon a Time in America, and it's considered one of the best gangster films outside of The Godfather, and you don't know who the two lead actors are, De Niro and James Woods, you lost, pal. You lost. So, end of story. I was shocked, by the way, that he didn't know. I'm shocked he didn't know it was James Woods. I stood there and I literally was like, all right, it's coming to me. Because there's no way he doesn't know that. And then when he couldn't, he not only did he not remember, he goes, oh, I'd never seen it. I was like, get off the stage.
Oh, man. All right, I got one last question, and it ties into something I want to talk to you about anyway. Daniel Smith asks, since Dan Murrell's departure from the Lions Den, have you thought about adding a replacement? Maybe perhaps Elliot Dewberry?
Why Elliot Dewberry is my question.
That's my question, too. I have no idea why you would want Elliot Dewberry of all people. Why don't you just add Ricky, too, and then completely suck? How about that?
Yeah, here's the deal. We want winners on the Lions Den, okay? Dan lost. You're done. It's not one thing to have the belt. You need to defend it. We're the first tag team champions to actually defend our titles. One of my favorite films is The Burbs. Joe Dante has directed a handful of movies: Inner Space, Gremlins, 1-2, Small Soldiers, and The Burbs is one of the best ones. For Dan to not get the answer to that, Joe Dante, who directed The Burbs, a Tom Hanks film, a classic cult hit film, he doesn't belong to be in Lions Den, to be honest with you. I mean, he was champ for a while. I gotta give him some respect. But if you're gonna lose on that question, maybe you're better off somewhere else. I'll just say, as far as other members go, we'll keep our eyes open.
All right, guys, that's going to be it for the show. I appreciate JTE coming by and talking with us and giving us his insight on the Lions Den and what's next for him and what you can expect when he takes on Clarke Wolfe next Friday and what promises to be a great matchup. Let's get out of here. Frank Janish, where can you be found online, sir? What do you got going on?
Yep, on Twitter at FrankieJ29. I do the weekly recap on schmoedown.com, so look for that. As always, in the Facebook pages, Schmoeville and the movie trivia Schmoedown.
Fantastic. Paul Wolfe, where can we find you, sir?
I can also be found on the movie trivia Schmoedown Facebook page as well as Schmoeville. You can also find me on Twitter at the Mr. Wolf and on Instagram at the Mr. Wolf 12.
Fantastic. Our special guest panelist, JTE, where can you be found, sir, and what do you have going on?
You guys can find me on Twitter at JTE Movie Thinks. Same thing, I think, for Instagram. I don't use it very much, but go ahead and add me. YouTube, I got my own YouTube channel at JTE Movie Thinks. Well, not at, but that's where you can find me, at JTE Movie Thinks on YouTube. I do movie reviews. I got my Logan review up. That's right. I saw it. You guys have it. I'm awesome.
An all-around patriot, because he loves America, JTE. And as always, you can find me on Twitter at ATTitanium. You can find me here on Saturday hosting this show. You can find me tomorrow on the SK Podcast channel as a co-host on After Schmo with Brian Davids. So for everybody on the panel, for JTE, for Paul Wolfe, and for Frank Janish, this is the Schmoedown Rundown. We'll see you next week. Don't forget to go to iTunes and subscribe to the Schmoes Know feed, where you can find this show, The Wenger Show, Don't Be a Beardo. You can even find the new show, After Schmo, the official Schmoeville After Show with Brian Davids and myself. As for the YouTube part of it, I'll let Ashley Mova tell you.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Thank you so very much. And where can you be found?
Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Ashley Mova.
Terrific. It's the Schmoedown Rundown.